Okay, another podcast, I guess. Feeling like kind of a negative Nelly since the last one, because I didn't have a lot of nice things to say about Blade Runner 2049. Oh man, so many people are getting a lot from that movie apparently, and that's just great. It just didn't do nothing for me. But I had a lot of good things to say about Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, despite that game seeming like people are hating all over that. So I don't know. Let's talk about some more stuff I like today. Specifically, The Walking Dead. Yeah. Another kind of, I don't know, maybe divisive thing amongst at least my group of peers. I don't know. People hate on The Walking Dead sometimes. I think it's fantastic, both the comic and the show. But today, I guess I would talk about the differences between the comic and the show and what I like about each. And I'm also multitasking, kind of getting some work done, some Coastalvania pins, business taken care of. That's a thing too, by the way. We make pins. That's Coastalvania is a brand. Coastalvania.com. We got enamel pins on there, comic books, my own comic books, artwork. Beautiful, beautiful babies. All the way. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So, yeah. Um, The Walking Dead. Because, yeah, I was talking about it with someone else recently, and they were saying that the new seasons suck, that they just cannot get into the new seasons, but it used to be good, quote. And I am of the exact opposite opinion. Actually, the first season of the show was great. It was very good. I mean, obviously, that's what ushered in the phenomena of The Walking Dead. But the first season, it's only 6 episodes, and really, it's only five good episodes. And even the season finale episode is kind of meh. So really, only like four really good episodes. That Vatos episode is really skippable, really skippable. Um, but yeah, like the very first, the pilot episode is great. The second episode is good. All the rock quarry shit, the characters kind of getting to know each other and stuff is good. Uh, Second season is ass. I rewatched recently. I pretty much started from I mean, I've seen everything, but recently I started from like season four, like after the prison fell, up to the current shit, like the very, very most recent current stuff before the new season, season eight, I believe, actually drops tonight. So I'm excited about that. So I guess that's why I'm talking about it now too, because season eight drops tonight. Um, so I watched season four through the new shit and loving it. I was just loving it. I mean, as with any show where every episode is going to be 40 minutes long, there's plenty of fucking downtime. There's plenty of stuff you could skip or whatever if you want to. Not all of it is fucking gold. But in general, I really like the characters. I like the storylines they're crafting. They add in a lot of like drama and stuff that kind of doesn't need to be there sometimes, like stuff with like Morgan, like we don't gotta kill, like stuff like that. It's just like, dude, get over it. It's been like 10 episodes. Obviously, some people have to fucking die. Like, holy shit, why are you still doing this? But it's because they have to fill a fucking 40-minute episode. We gotta put some drama in there. So I get it. In general, I really like the most recent, four or so seasons. Uh, yeah, but then while I was watching it, I was like, I'll go back and watch the first three seasons because that'll be like watching a prequel or something now at this point. This is so different, the first three seasons, and it is. And I also did it because, all right, straight up, you guys, spoilers here. I'm probably talking about everything in The Walking Dead, so if you haven't seen it and you care about that shit, probably shouldn't listen to this. But anyways, the reason I went back, spoilers, reason why I went back to the first seasons as well was just because I needed to get my Glenn fix, especially after he's dead. He's dead on the show now, and he's a very important character for a lot of reasons to a lot of people, and I feel that all around too. I love that character, love the actor, so Steven Yen, and really miss him. So it's really cool to go back and see him in the early seasons and all that stuff. Looking all fresh faced and like just pretty much living that pizza guy life, and then he just becomes a total badass, as well as everyone else on the show. So I went back and watched the first few seasons, and I was sick as well, so I don't know. That probably didn't help, but I wasn't holding anything against the show, and we fans of Walking Dead know that season two is just bullshit. It's just crap, pretty much. Like it's like first half is just Sophia, Sophia, where's Sophia? Sophia. It's just so fucking boring. And then like the farm. There's a couple of interesting moments like Shane and the Otis going off to the school to get like medical supplies and Shane like shoots him in the leg to fucking sacrifice him and shit and Shane kind of reveals his true colors that he's kind of a psycho and all this shit. Um that shit's interesting. John Bernthal is just one of my favorite like modern actors of the last 5 years, whatever, 10 years. So I was excited to see him as well in those quote prequel seasons. Uh, but sadly, again, like the first season, he's got some good stuff to chew on. Second season, it's still just a lot of that boring farm shit. Herschel's like, you can't come in the house, stuff like that. It's just like low stakes, boring fucking farm shit. And it's weird too because first season's only like 6 episodes. Second season feels like it's like 40 episodes or something. Like it's just fucking just a long slog. I slept through most of rewatching the second season this time around. Yeah. And then we get to season three, The Prison, and pretty much, oh, hang on. Pretty much my feeling on that is I just think the governor was just, in the comics, he was a compelling villain. Um, I think, I don't know, I think it's weird and surface to say, but I think part of it was just he was like this long haired, mustachioed fucking guy. It was just like, it's like, really? You're gonna follow this guy? Like, what? But people must be crazy to follow this guy. But the guy on the show, I mean, he's a good actor, whatever. He always seemed like just kind of a low rent Liam Neeson to me. He straight up just kind of talked like Liam Neeson. I'm the governor, blah blah blah, blah, blah. But he's just he's like white bread or something. I don't know. He's got no flavor to him. Um, and that season is just really aggravating because he's kind of really just such a terrible villain and terrible like leader of this community. So I'm just like, why are people fucking believing him, following him? And especially that is personified in Andrea's character the most because she even like sleeps with him and shit. And she could have bridged the gap between the prison, Rick's group, and the governor, but she doesn't do shit and she dies. Actually, her death is pretty cool on the show. The whole like she's like tied to a chair and she has to escape, and the guy in the room with her is dying, and he's gonna turn into a walker and bite her head off and stuff like that. Pretty creative, pretty creative. Yeah, and then we get Michonne gets introduced in season three. Michonne is awesome in both the comic and the show. Um, in general, I'm gonna say I think I prefer the characters on the show. I think it's just the benefit of the actors being really good. Rick, Andrew Lincoln he is Rick to me. So yeah, I was in New York Comic Con recently for the New York Comic Con. I was tabling there. I'm a comic artist, in case you didn't know. I fucking make comics. Sun Bakery, go read that shit. Yeah, and the person I was staying with, Lindsay, a very nice lady. Staying with Lindsay, but she actually has never watched the Walking Dead show. But she read the comics. So, and when I was saying stuff like, "Oh, I actually kind of like the show a lot better in a lot of ways," she was actually really surprised. And I was like, "Actually, a lot of the characters are a lot more badass on the show. There's characters on the show that aren't even in the comics, like Daryl, which is like a game changer. Carol is way cooler on the TV show." Um, and she was like kind of like blown away. She's like, "Really? Like they're that much cooler? Like that much more interesting kind of stuff happens?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, the show is fucking good." And that to me mostly is after the prison falls. Uh, like before that, we got John Bernthal, good actor. What's his name? The old guy who plays Herschel. He's a really good actor, and he was fun to watch in those kind of boring second and third seasons. So there's good performances still there for sure. Uh, but in general, it just feels a lot more like low stakes. Um, just kind of like plotting, very slow, which is cool. It's fine because that's kind of what Walking Dead was aiming to be at first. I believe that's what Kirkman said. He just wanted to make it like kind of a normal, not like really glorified up like crazy like miniguns or cyborgs or any shit like that. Just like, what if zombie shit was real and we're gonna follow these people's lives, and it's maybe not always gonna be super exciting because sometimes you just want to avoid the fucking drama and the danger. So in that regard, I mean, first few seasons are like accurate to that. Like, the survivors still feel like maybe they can outlive this, maybe it'll go away. But by the falling of the prison and everything that happens after that, I really think that's when the story starts hitting its stride and everything becomes like ragged, truly ragged edge, like fucking like holy shit, do or die. These characters really become fucking like superheroes in a way. I guess in a way it's kind of suspended from reality a lot more than the first couple seasons because some crazy shit does happen. There's like cannibals. There's fucking Father Gabriel, the preacher guy who's like in character as a preacher a lot of the time. It's just a little more. It's a little bit more fantastical. Possibly, probably, yes. But I am cool with that, and it's not to the point where it's anything absurd. It's still a fucking zombie survival story. Um, so yeah, to me, things start picking up. I'm gonna start drawing while I'm talking about this. To me, things start picking up after the prison falls and the whole main group gets scattered to the wind, including just Rick and Carl by themselves. And at this point, I think the mom was freshly just killed or died. Well, she was technically, Carl had to kill her own son, that's crazy. That is crazy. I don't think that was the case in the comics. No, not at all. And in fact, in the comics, Lori and the baby both die like at the same time. And it's kind of an epic moment in the comics. It's like a full page shot of Lori and the baby getting blown away, and fucking hardcore for sure. Kirkman does not shy away from some of that stuff. Kirkman, the creator of The Walking Dead, the writer, Robert Kirkman. Um, and props to that. But sometimes his shock stuff is just kind of like, oh well, oh shit, that happened. That's hardcore, but maybe not as creatively fulfilling or something as like kind of the paths the show takes. Because in the show, Judith, the baby, is still alive, and I even thought that was going to be super annoying. Like, holy shit, I don't want to watch this show if there's going to be a fucking baby on it. But it's offered some like compelling perspectives for the characters, like especially in like season 6 or something. One of the more recent, or 7 actually, one of the most recent seasons, Michonne is asking Rick like, "How can you take this shit from like Negan and all this stuff?" And he's like, "Judith's not even my baby. I had to learn to take it myself." That blah blah blah. He believes that Judith is actually Shane's baby, so he's like, I'm already dealing with shit that I don't want to have to deal with, but this is how we survive. So fucking pretty compelling point of view. Instead of it just being like some shock thing. I did like how it happened in the comics because that's how the governor ultimately dies, and I think the governor kind of goes out cooler in the comics than in the show. Like one of his minions is just like, "You just made me kill a fucking baby," and she like blows him away. She like kills the governor, like very kind of unceremoniously, like almost off page, off panel, practically. Like the governor is such a shit this whole time, and you just want him to die. And in the comics, he gets like pretty much the death he deserves. It's just like one of his own bereaved, sappy fucking minions is like, "Oh fuck you," and just offs him. So that was pretty cool. In the show, they drag him out so much, like he's supposed to be this superhuman villain that we're like, wow, how does this guy keep living? Like there's even like after like there's an initial fall of the prison or Woodbury, whatever, and that we get treated to like 2 or 3 episodes of just governor fucking backstory shit. I hated that shit. It was so fucking boring. And of course he meets up. He's like huge fucking beard, like looking like a psychopath. But of course, like these two beautiful women with like their daughter and like an old man are like, "Would you please come and take care of us?" It's like, come on, man. Like, yeah, Governor is supposed to be this really compelling villain that we just, wow, he just gets himself away with things and he gets himself into these cool situations and he's like a survivor. I'm not like, but I'm like, no, he's not. He's like this shitty, pathetic character that somehow just keeps living. And like, I don't know, I guess maybe that's what they're going for, but they also did like these epic shots like of him like in front of like burning things, like, "Oh, check out how badass the governor is." I'm like, he's not fucking badass. Like immediately after the prison falls, and the characters all get scattered to the wind. We get, in my opinion, we get introduced to a couple of groups of new villain characters that are way more compelling than the governor, and I still remember them more than the governor's lasting impact. I'd say in the comics, the governor is a much cooler villain. I think I've said it already, but he does a lot of more fucked up shit in the comics, namely to Michonne, and that shit's fucked up. I'm not saying that's cool or anything, but that's some evil villain shit. That's like In the show, he's just like this fucking asshole who just gets away with a bunch of fucking mediocre shit, and he ultimately dies. He has like 5 prolonged deaths, and finally Michonne stabs him in the fucking heart, and it's like, you didn't even deserve that cool of a death, you piece of shit. Anyways, so the villains that get introduced after the prison falls. Anyways, like after the prison falls, there's like a good handful of episodes where there's not even really like a major villain. It's just them like surviving, and that shit is super compelling because they're like just fucked. Like they haven't been this fucked since the very beginning, and now they don't even have each other to rely on. They're just like fucking like limping. And I think in the comics, Rick took his like there's like a phone that represented Lori for a period, and I think that's even in the show as well. That's part of the prison arc too that I was not cool with. Like pretty boring. Like Rick was freaking out, and he'd see like Lori in the rafters and shit like that. Like leave me alone, like shit like that. It's like okay, all right. I mean, it's kind of cool, kind of creative, but not really. Not really. Why is my phone yelling at me? Leave me alone, phone. So the villains. So yeah, for a few episodes, there's not even really any major villains. It's just them surviving, which is cool. Uh, I didn't even mention like why I like this show and so much, but a lot of it is the actors. I know I talked about it before. Like I love Andrew Lincoln, fucking Daryl, Norman Reedus kills it. He's like 80% of the reason the show fucking rules. Uh, Michonne, actress, is great. Yeah, they're all really good. But anyways, all right, let's keep talking about these episodes and the villains that finally pop up. In a second, I have to talk about Coastalvania stuff here. So they're surviving on their own for a minute, and that's pretty compelling TV, in my opinion. Those first few of season 4 episodes, I think. But eventually, we come across the gang of biker claimed drifter guys. Now, I just said they're memorable, but I don't remember their names because their names are not really important to their character. They're just this group of fucking bikers, and they like how the world is now. They like the zombie world. And their whole one rule is just you got to claim stuff. If you're gonna hang out with us, you got to claim this thing over here. And they scoop up Daryl, and they really want Daryl to be part of their group and shit because Daryl's fucking badass. Everyone wants Daryl to be part of their group, except there's another Archer character in their group already, and he doesn't like Daryl. And they go at it for a minute. But they're interesting villains, I thought, and they lead to one of the most pivotal moments of that entire season. Um, yeah, I believe that season 4 is when they're all just scattered, and eventually at the end of the season they come together. And then season 5, I believe, is their quest to Terminus. Season 4, season 5 is going to Terminus. And also Glenn meets up with like Abraham during this whole time. Abraham's introduced in season 4, I believe. And that's the thing too, like all the really, really cool characters, like Abraham, Eugene, Rosita, I think they're cool characters. They get introduced in like season 4 after the prison and all that stuff. So really season 4 and beyond is, in my opinion, when Walking Dead gets really good. So if you have the opposite opinion, I'm kind of confused because the zombie action is way better in the season 4 on. They get to the Alexandria safe zone. That shit is super compelling. Yeah, I'm gonna go more into detail. I'm gonna look at some season recaps to make sure I'm getting this timeline right. Walking Dead season 4. Yeah, yeah. Season 4 is like the prison. Oh, Martinez's camp, right? That whole bullshit. The Woodbury Falls for a while. The Claimers are in it. Yep, Terminus. Is all that season 4? Damn. Season 4 is good. Yeah, if fucking Terminus and all that is part of season 4, it even comes off of the heels of the prison and all that shit. That's a great season, definitely. Let's take a look. Season 5. Season 5 has Terminus as well. Oh right, I think season 4 ends with them discovering Terminus, and they're like excited about it. But then they figure out that everything is not cool at fucking Terminus. And that's the thing I was gonna say. There's two compelling villain groups that get introduced after the fall of the prison. First of all is the Claimers. The second group would be the Terminus, fucking cannibals, which they are quickly revealed as being, led by Gareth, who is, I think, was great, man. Really good actor. Like, he pontificates all of this, like, we used to be good and we've eventually learned you're either the cattle or you're the butcher, all this shit, like, it could have been, like, really cheesy and sappy and dumb, but I feel like the show did it quite good. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so Terminus, they were cool. Um, uh, yeah, and like the whole like story arc leading up to Terminus and everything was, I thought, very interesting. The main group separated off into several little groups. Like Maggie was with Sasha and Bob. That was fun stuff. You got to see more about Bob's history. I thought he was a really cool character. I liked seeing his stuff before he met up with the group. He was just on his own drinking. He would just like sit behind a piece of like fence and watch walkers like try to bite at him and shit. Um, yeah. So yeah, I liked Maggie's little group, and then Glenn ended up with Abraham, and that was fun stuff. They got in some nice little scrapes there. They fought each other a few times, like literally like fought each other, and eventually and eventually Abraham's or Glenn's like, I'm sorry, I fought you, man. And Abraham's like, I'm not. I like to fight. That's funny shit. That's good stuff, man. Eugene gets introduced and he's got a very, very compelling story. He's gonna cure the zombie virus, and turns out he's just lying though, and like, oh man, so many things. And eventually the group, so that season, I think before they hit Terminus, yeah, before they get to Terminus, Rick does meet up with the Claimers. Rick, Michonne, and Carl meet up with the Claimers and Daryl. And the whole time, the Claimers have been saying that there's this guy we're kind of hunting. And Daryl doesn't know that they're talking about Rick, but they eventually come down on Rick. And that episode, that scene, that's one of the pivotal moments of the entire Walking Dead series, I think. That's really hardcore shit. You can see that these guys are fucking terrible, terrible, terrible bad guys. Way worse than anything fucking Woodbury governor asshole could muster. These guys are just straight up like evil, like pound you in the dirt, fucking evil. So Rick, the group, they're just at the edge right there. His little group, they're just at the fucking edge, and Rick straight up just bites the dude's neck and fucking rips out his fucking jugular with his teeth. It's fucking badass. It's so cool, and I'm pretty sure that same thing was in the comic, like very similar. I think it was like a different group of characters, but he does do that in the comic. He like bites a guy's neck and rips it out and shit. Fucking badass. Really cool. And that's while Daryl's being nearly beaten to death by the Claimers, and all the shit's going down, and like Carl is about to be like raped and stuff. It's just terrible, very bad. But Rick fucking does his thing, rips dude's throat out. Daryl takes the moment. Michonne takes the moment. They start beating some ass and fucking shit up. Uh, and then Rick goes fucking psychopath and stabs the fuck out of the would-be rapist guy. Yeah. But then after that, I mean, that scene is some shit right there. But then after that is even just as good. Like what I like, the little recoup. The night afterwards, Michonne is like sleeping with Carl in the car. They're just hugging each other. It's very, very beautiful. And Rick's outside, just bloody as fuck. You could tell he's been up all night. He's not gonna sleep now. He's gonna sit there and sit watch all fucking night. Daryl comes up to him and he's like, I didn't know, blah blah blah. And Rick is just like, hey, you're my brother. And I'm like, oh my god, that shit gets to me, man. Like, male affection, like in a show like this, especially between two just completely badass characters like Rick and Daryl, who started off just completely at odds, and at this point he's like, you're my brother. I'm just like, oh, that gets me right in the feels, man. And it happens a couple other times in these more recent seasons, 4, 5, 6, 7. So again, I just can't understand when people are like, the new seasons suck. No, fuck no, they're fucking awesome. Yeah. So so that's season 4 in a nutshell. And I think after that, Rick and them decide to head to Terminus. Glenn has seen Maggie leave messages that she's heading to Terminus, so they all go to Terminus, and I believe that's pretty much season 5 starts at Terminus, and they end up in Alexandria at some point. So the Terminus thing is really cool too. Like after all the shit they've been through, um, they get locked up by Terminus in these train cars, and miraculously Rick gets locked up with the rest of his group. I think it's the first time they've seen each other, like since the prison fell. And there's Glenn, there's Maggie, there's new guys. There's a huge new guy named Abraham who's down with us, and and Rick just chuckles, and they're like, "Dude, what are you happy about?" And he's like, "They're gonna feel really dumb when they know who they're messing with." And like it's like, oh shit, and that's the end of the season. And then the next season, they're like making makeshift weapons out of anything they can in the train car, and it kind of goes awry. The Terminus people have plans. They have tear gas to stop them from doing anything tricky now. But they get inside, and a really cool scene of them being like put over a blood trough where they drain blood from pigs or whatever. They do it for humans because they're fucking cannibals. These Terminus villains, and they're very systematic and mathematic and cold about it. And at this point, Bob, who's still an awesome, relevant character on the show, tries to appeal to Gareth, the bad guy, but he's not having it. And but then Carol is out in the fucking outskirts, and we haven't seen much of her because she got sent away during the prison arc because she killed some people of the group because they were infected with some kind of illness or something like that. But this is the episode where Carol reveals herself to be like fucking Rambo now because she single-handedly saves Rick and the group from Terminus. Like they're about to get their heads bashed in with baseball bats, which is whoa, that's some uh, telling future significance, if you know what I mean. Anyways, Carol saves their asses with like some fucking bottle rockets and like a fucking giant M16 fucking whatever, and she wears like Walker guts and goes in. And oh yeah, and this whole time Tyrese is with the baby. And I will just say this, in the comics Tyrese is like an awesome character. In the show he kind of sucks ass. He's really shitty actually on the show. I like the actor. The actor was cool, but they gave him all these weird like arcs, and like he's just like this gentle giant who doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want to kill zombies. He doesn't want to fucking do anything. It's just like, dude, come on, fucking do something. Uh, like early on, his girlfriend Karen was one of the people that Carol killed because she had the like a flu or some shit. And I only remember that character's name because fucking Tyrese bitches about her the whole rest of this time he's alive. And he has one of the shittiest deaths on the show. Such a stupid death. That episode sucks. I mean, I'm singing the praises of these new seasons, and in general, I think they are really good. But there's definitely some episodes that still are classic Walking Dead shitty, and you can skip them. There's an episode where they go back to another character's hometown, and it's the episode where Tyrese dies, and it's just boring. Skip it. Skip it. I don't remember which one it is. On that same note, in terms of disposable episodes, there is like an entire second half or like 3 or 4 episodes that are completely skippable as well, involving Beth in a hospital. Like, holy shit, fuck that entire arc. It's bullshit. I think it's in maybe season 4, maybe season 3 even. Like, nope, it's in 5. Yeah, it's in 5. Beth is still alive in season 5. The Grady Memorial Hospital. Boring, stupid shit. I mean, maybe it would matter if any of the characters in that fucking sequence are still alive, but any character of significance from that arc is dead by now on The Walking Dead, so it really doesn't fucking matter. But I think after that hospital, after Terminus, after all that shit, there's a really cool little brief period where they're back out on their own. Um, and there's an amazing sequence, amazing episode where it's the group and they're back together, which is great, but they're like basically dead. They have no food, they have no shelter, and there's this great episode scene moments where they find like a little shack and there's like a storm about to hit, and I just love this scene because like the storm and like there's walkers outside too, and they're like pressing against the door, and the whole group is like pushing back against this storm, against this walkers, and it's obvious like symbolism of this group just fucking fighting to live. like just fighting to live. But the timing of that episode and after everything that's happened on the show and everything like that, it was just really well done, I think, and especially what happens immediately after that, because that's when oh, I'm blanking on his name. I'm blanking on Seth Aaron. Aaron, I think his name is. He shows up from Alexandria, the recruiter guy, the gay guy. He shows up. I believe his name's Aaron. He shows up immediately after that with pictures of the Alexandria safe zone. So it's a really cool moment because that's when the group is at their most like desperate, kind of, at least for since the last time they were fucking desperate. But here comes Aaron telling that he is got maybe a place for them to stay, and hence begins the Alexandria arc of the storyline, which pretty much at this point is like the main Walking Dead storyline now. You got Alexandria, you got the hilltop, and you got the kingdom, and you got the saviors. Now it's the whole bigger world, and I think in the comics that's what they call it. It was like a new world or something like that, a bigger world, a greater world, something like that. And straight up now, like the show has this new cohesion, and it all has to do with the Alexandria safe zone and everything. Yeah, that's like season 5 through current, and it's really good. I guess the dynamic kind of shifts absolutely when Negan officially shows up. Now it's kind of just about like this crazy monolithic bad guy versus the group. So yeah, there's definitely a few dynamic tonal shifts still, even after they get to Alexandria. Maybe I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. I think I'm done ranting about Walking Dead for the moment. Let's just have a moment of truth about Daryl. Like, if only, like, just put him in the comic. Just fucking put him in. Maybe they did now. I haven't. I've read I've read everything in the comic that the show has covered for sure. I think I stopped at like issue 120 or something like that. I think I stopped around the Whisperers, but I've still seen like synopsises and stuff, so I know how it goes, and it's really cool. I'm excited to see if the show goes there as well. But Daryl, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna stop talking about Walking Dead or whatever, but we just gotta talk about how awesome Daryl is. He is awesome. That's it. All right, so then we finally get to Alexandria. And in Alexandria is interesting, first of all, because of even after the All Out, the bigger world, whatever. Alexandria is interesting because the group has just been pushed to its limits, and basically been animals braving the elements, etc. And here they find this pristine colony, which is very different for them. Absolutely, they haven't been in this kind of colony since like the prison, basically. And not only is it a good pristine colony, but like it's like really good. Like it has giant freaking walls. The community itself, the homes are like mansions, not just like houses or trailer parks, homes or something. They're like freaking mansions. Everyone living there seems really put together, like they really haven't had to deal with the zombies, and it's led by Diana, who is like a former politician herself, and her husband is like an architect, and they have a couple, strapping sons, so the whole place is like, managed fairly well. Diana's a former politician, so she knows, at the very least, she knows social structure and stuff like that. Her husband's an architect, so he helped build the walls. In fact, I think he was, the main architect behind the walls. So they had their shit going on. So the Rick's group was just like, whoa, holy shit. They just got done biting people's necks out and like getting pushed in the dirt and like pushing against typhoons and walkers and everything, like dealing with some shit. And they basically get recruited by Aaron, who's a really cool character, by the way. He starts off like, he's in the comics as well, and he's just like kind of a little boring, at first. He's just like, I'm just a guy, I'm just a guy. Like, that's great. But that actor, Ross Marquand, something like that, he is hilarious. He's amazing at doing celebrity impersonations, like straight up Ross Marquand or something like that. It's Mar with a Q. Go look him up on YouTube. Celebrity impersonations. Ross Walking Dead. He is hilarious. He does amazing impressions. So I'm liking his character, even on the show too. He's like throwing down, as kind of the trend with the show, the comic characters just get expanded on a lot, I think, because the actors, it's a lot easier for several individual actors to make their character shine instead of a creative team of just two people. Nothing wrong with that. I love being a small creative team, but when you get a whole cast ensemble of people and all their personalities getting going on, then you really get a lot of emotional interactions and just fun content to view. And that's a lot of what I like Walking Dead about, honestly, is the cast is just so strong. Like, even besides them, you got Bob, you got Sasha. She was recently killed off on the show, very recently. Like, that was the season finale of last season, because she is now the star of the new Star Trek, that's pretty cool. I haven't seen it yet. There's been a lot of prickliness around that as well, so who knows if that's good or not. But I like that actress. She's great. Yeah. Oh, and the shipping on the show. I just want to talk about that briefly too, because I find it very interesting, especially recently. Rick and Michonne started hooking up, and I told someone else I knew about this, and she was like, "What? Really? I don't know if I like that." And I'm like, I totally like it. I think it's awesome. Like, pretty much they're two of the most badass characters on the show, and so it makes sense that they're hooking up. Oh, and just the dynamic between her and Michonne. Rick and Michonne and Carl, like, it's just fantastic, like the mother-daughter or mother-son situation. And I love Carl too. I love the actor who plays Carl, Chandler Riggs. He's really good. It was really interesting to see his development from an authentic little kid at the start of the whole series to who he is now, and he's a total badass on the show. He's great, man. Carl's one of my favorite characters on the show. Yeah, he does a really good job. And that's pretty rare with young actors to be that good, but he is that good. But anyways, back to the shipping. Like in the comics, it's like Rick and Andrea, which that's kind of boring, and I don't even pick up on a whole lot of like maternal feelings between Andrea and Carl and stuff. I think in the comics in general, Carl's just a bit more of a kind of a stoic psychopath. In the more recent issues, he's got his agency and everything. It's great. He wants to be like a blacksmith and all that. That's cool. But again, the show just gets a little bit more proving grounds, a little bit more area for the actors to shine and really develop individual characters. You got that with Carl. So anyways, I like the shipping of Rick and Michonne. I think that's a much more interesting couple for a lot of reasons. And then you got like Carol and oh god, the king of the kingdom. I forgot his name now. But yeah, he's he's kind of going after Carol. I think that's cute too. Yeah, this is fucking interesting. So the shipping is fun. But back to Alexandria and why that's interesting. So the whole they got like a little bit of a government going on, and in fact, when Rick shows up, the whole first arc for him in Alexandria is him being the new constable, sheriff, whatever. So he's back to his old job, which is pretty fucking interesting. And it's him and Michonne, and this is before they're even hooking up or anything. So it's cool to see them like on equal ground there. And there's a lot of fun dynamics, like he starts to actually kind of be a sheriff in Alexandria. And there's the new love interest. What's her name? Oh boy, I'm forgetting now. But Jessie. I like her too. I like that actress too. She's really cute. She's also just a good actress. But and she was in American Horror Story. Apparently, she was like the sexy nursemaid in the first season, which I was like, whoa, damn, for real. She's an interesting character. She has an abusive husband, so there's some tension there between Rick and that husband, of course. And the husband is also a doctor, so he's important to the community, etc., etc., etc. But that whole first arc of Alexandria, because of those setups, is pretty interesting. Totally pretty interesting. The only character who kind of gets pushed to the background is like Carol, because I think, she's done killing, she's been Rambo, she's doing all this shit. She starts like tallying up how many people she's killed, and she's starting to not like it. So her arc is a little snoozy in the Alexandria arc, but she does start hooking up with Tobin,
Oh yeah, there's some more shipping right there. I think, yeah, before she escapes, she's hooking up with Tobin, and that's nice. Tobin's a very C-string character on the show, but he has some fun interactions too with Abraham. And Abraham represents and starts leading the Alexandrians on like kind of a more military production level. There's a great scene where he saves someone's ass. He's like easily saves someone from a bunch of walkers. All the other characters are like, how can you do that? How can you stand up against the walkers? And he's like, this ain't nothing, man. Pull the cobwebs out of your ass. Daylight's burning. That's some good friggin' quotes, man, from Abraham. The cobwebs out of the ass. I can understand that. I'm like, you gotta fucking get out there and make shit, you know, like, that's what's up. So Abraham has some good shining moments leading the community. Him and Rick and Michonne and even Maggie gets to you know, display her diplomatic abilities. She starts to shadow Diana and all this stuff. Glenn, I'm not sure what Glenn is up to during all this, because he's still alive. I think he's just out scouting and stuff, like doing runs and whatnot. He does get, yeah, okay, so the second arc of the Alexandria season, after Porch Dick gets killed, the abusive husband gets killed. There's a really cool arc, like the second half of that season, I think, is them just trying to redirect a huge herd of walkers from infesting Alexandria. It is really cool because like the whole season kind of is just like this, like 5-6 hours of this process of trying to divert this herd, but it's actually like, you know, 5 or 6 episodes. It's like cool. I think it's really cool, and like the flashbacks to them trying to guide the herd is in black and white. Actually, that's only in the first episode, I think, but it's really cool how they set that up. And a lot of the meat of the next part of the season has to do with them trying to deflect the herd of walkers, and it's a cool, big, elaborate plan they have. And then somewhere along in that period, also the wolves pop up. The wolves, they are a group of pretty much just like animals, I guess honestly you could say. They live out in the woods and shit, you know. They don't, I guess they like to collect stuff, and they collect people, and they turn people into walkers. And even after they're psychos, you know. They're out there in the woods, like not trying to build communities or nothing. They're just fucking wolves. They're just gnawing and killing people and living by fucking the harshness of the land and whatnot. But they pop up, I think, because they try to deflect. Hey, there's an Uber driver, fucking Bremerton. All right, so they are here. So while they're trying to deflect the herd, the wolves do pop up at some point because some shit goes down. Half the herd breaks off, and they head back to Alexandria. And this is really intense part. This is even before Negan or the Saviors or anything, but this part is super intense when the walkers get inside the community for the first time. And it's from the comics as well. Like, this whole arc is from the comics, and it leads to another amazing like series defining moment. Like, here's the thing, like when people like have opinions or whatever about, they think like a show is good or something, like I try to have concrete evidence for myself and my reasons of why I think this show is awesome, and I can give you specific scenes, like the scene where the Claimers are up to really no good and are about to do really nasty shit, and then Rick bites their fucking neck out. That's one of them. And then this one here where the walkers infest Alexandria, and they attempt to make an escape, but they can't quite make it, and Jesse is like gets taken down because her kid sucks. That kid sucks, and he like talks too much, and the walkers start to fucking get him, and the mom just freaks out. Jesse freaks out. She starts to get it, and in those moments, Rick just flashes to like these moments, these nice moments he had with Jesse, and like that was a prospective love interest for the future, etc. Like something to fill the Lori gap there. But no, she's getting gnawed on by walkers, like in the neck and the face, and he's having like these flashes of these nice moments he had with her, and everything's going to shit, but he doesn't even have time to dwell on that because Jesse is holding on to Carl's hand, and Carl is about to get sucked into the walker pit with her, and no time to react, no time to nothing. Rick grabs his fucking hatchet and just hacks at Jesse's hand, hacks her hand off so that Carl no longer can be sucked into the zombie horde. And man, that's like the last thing Jesse's feeling, is getting killed by walkers and getting her hand cut off by Rick. Like, holy shit, that is some shit. And that's one of my evidences to why Walking Dead is actually a fucking, if not like a good, just straight up standard TV show, like it's worthy of your time because it has moments like that where you're just like, fuck, I have never seen that in a zombie thing. And that's all I ask for from my narratives, from my stories that are entertaining me, is something that I haven't seen before, something that affects me and makes my like heart race. And that certainly most definitely did that episode right there with the Alexandria getting overrun. And this is we still haven't even gotten to Negan yet. Oh my god. Like, he is on the forefront here at this point in the series. After they do finally, oh man, there's even more cool moments. Because like, when the horde takes over Alexandria, even after Rick does all this shit, oh man, yeah. So Rick has to do what he has to do, and like the whole family's basically killed, but there's one more kid remaining who's been a problem on the show for a while. He's the abusive husband's son, eldest son, who occasionally you're like, maybe this kid's gonna be alright, but he asks to learn how to shoot and all this shit, and you're like, oh shit, what's he gonna do with that knowledge? And sure enough, after his whole family gets killed, I mean, you know, fucking sure enough, like, I would be shook too. He takes the gun, he points it at Rick and Carl, and he's like, this is all your guys' fucking fault. And he's about to shoot Rick, but then, BAM! Michonne, like, straight up stabs him through the back, stabs him through the heart, Governor style. And little Junior Porch Dick Jr. didn't have a chance to become the governor because Michonne fatalities him like the motherfucking governor. But he does get a shot off, and it hits Carl in the fucking face. Carl gets shot in the face, and he takes it like a champ. Basically, his eyeball is taken out, and this is all from the comic as well. I think the circumstances for how he got shot is a little different. Actually, I think it maybe took place in the same kind of part in Alexandria during the horde. He gets shot in the face, and he's not quite dead though. He still like mutters. He's like, "Dad," and he like just kind of falls down. And this part on the show is fucking filmed super well too, because when he falls initially, like the way they shoot it is just so good. Because Rick goes down to grab him, but it looks like it's a group of walkers like just going to pounce on him. And like, you know, the show likes to change stuff up. They take moments from the comic, but they change it a bit. You know, they do it very, very well. And in this moment, I was like, Carl got shot. Okay, I was expecting that. But then I saw like a bunch of bodies jumping on him, and I was like, oh my god, is he getting fucking eaten? Oh, fuck. But no, it was Rick grabbing him. But for that brief moment, and they knew what they were doing. They filmed it really well. So anyways, amazing moments. Let's just take a breath. Honestly, like within those like 5-6 episodes of that second half of that season, there's just so many cool episodes, so many cool zombie situations. And again, I just say, I'm like, this show has been getting better like since season 4. So I'm like the first few seasons were nothing compared to what's going on now. And like, if you're at all on the same wavelength I am with this zombie shit, like, and like with interesting characters, interesting like fatalities all over the place, Walking Dead's delivering that shit. And not just like human characters' deaths, but like zombies. They're still keeping the zombies like crazy on this show, man. Like, you'll see a new interesting zombie. Quick little note, I did start watching the brand new episode, but I had some buffering issues and shit, so I only got like 20 minutes into season 8 episode 1 last night. But already it's winning me over. It's so fucking cool. Like, there's so much action already happening, and a very unique zombie type as well. Like, there's like this half-burnt, bloated zombie guy, but this other half of his face, he looks like some crazy Two-Face motherfucker. Like, very unique zombie situations. Like, they're not half-assing this shit. And even like certain seasons, based on the weather or based on like where they're at, the zombies completely fit the bill. Like, they'll be in like flooded areas, and the zombies will be bloated and waterlogged and fucking dripping and all that shit. They'll be in like colder areas, the zombies aren't quite as mobile or something. They really pay attention to all that shit. Fucking props to that. So anyways, Carl has gotten shot in the face, and this is like the end of season 5, I think. And oh man, yeah, I'm just still talking about epic moments that happen in this series, and there's a bunch condensed in this area. So Carl gets shot after fucking Rick chops off the hand. Crazy shit's going on. Rick just runs his ass through like the herd of zombies. Michonne is helping him. She's like the living weapon, fucking just tearing it up. The living mama weapon, because that's like her boy pretty much at this point. And you just fucked up her boy, so she's getting shit done. Oh, I'm getting fucking pumped, man. It's like. Oh, I'm on like the last vestiges of being sick. I only get sick like once every 3 years, so when it happens, it knocks me on my ass for a minute. All that's left is a cough. There's like a little bit of phlegm. It wants to come out. We'll get you out, buddy. Trying to talk about Walking Dead right now. Trying to talk about Michonne, the living weapon. Just badass. So anyways, ultimately, Carl gets shot in the face. Rick and Michonne running through the walkers, and they get to Denise. Good old Denise. She's like a new character after the porch dick got killed, the abusive husband, who was a doctor, got killed. They had a gap of a doctor they need filled. And Denise, who's just this very unassuming character, steps up. And she becomes a very cool character in The Walking Dead, I think. She's a very cool actress for a lot of reasons, you know, like there's some representation going there. And she just ends up being a cool character. And she represents right here. Carl is shot in the face, and it's a really cool moment too. She's like overwhelmed. She's already been dealing with shit the whole night because it's been like a crazy. Oh yeah, she got abducted by a wolf at one point too, and had a very cool arc with this wolf actually. And it makes me think of like villains and like hate and acceptance and stuff like that, like very prevalent themes right now in the real world. And it's touchy shit. Like these wolves were responsible for killing very important characters and like our friends and loved ones, and it's like fuck them, because like I fucking hate them, right? But I still do, even watching the show and even during the arcs. But at some point Denise gets abducted with a wolf, and it's just her and this wolf, the main wolf pretty much, doing their thing, and he's an asshole and everything. But at some point she like wins him over, and he starts to be like a good guy and like starts to help him, and he does get taken out by Carol like very quickly. Carol's representing most of us who want just evil people to die. But at that same moment, just that brief glimmer, is just like we had an ally for a second. We had a whole new person, a whole new set of beliefs, and like, you know, it used to be fucking terrible beliefs, but now maybe he's turned a leaf and shit. It's very interesting. I'm not trying to argue either way which one is right. It's just like it makes you think of shit, and that's The Walking Dead right there. That's like just a little arc that happens during the Alexandria being the horde, the zombie horde gets taken over. So much stuff is going on. That's really cool shit to me. So anyways, Denise, she is back. She's doctoring a lot of people, throwing down, and you can see off in the background Rick and Michonne. In the show, they do a really good job when they film it. You could just feel like something's going down, and they all kind of look outside and they can see, you know, the obvious figures of like Rick and Michonne just tearing through a group of zombies with something in their arms. And that is when Denise is just like, go ahead, dude. And that is when Denise is just like, nope. And she immediately springs into action, puts all the stuff that needs to be put into place. She's delegating what needs to be, who needs to be doing what for Carl. Obviously, there's some major shit about to enter her situation ER room, and she handles it like a goddamn champ. And she starts sewing Carl up immediately. She's not even phased, like, you got shot in the face, whatever, we gotta deal with this shit. It's amazing. And that amazingness dovetails into just another epic scene. Rick obviously is just shook as fuck. He cannot handle all the shit that's going on. His son just got nailed. Michonne is pissed off as fuck too. They just leave. Like, Rick just leaves right out the front door into the fucking horde of the zombies. Everyone's like, what the fuck? He takes his hatchet and he starts going to town on zombies. It is just awesome. Just melee, like he doesn't give a fuck. Any fucking zombies he sees are no longer gonna be a problem. So he heads out there. Michonne quickly backs him up. And then all the other characters are starting to be like, holy shit, they're like, this is the last stand, you know? Like, Aaron is like, dude, I gotta get out there, gotta do this to his man. He tells him this is the way it's gotta be. Gets out there, and I think like Abraham and like Rosita and all them, oh, they show up. They're like different. They're doing other shit. Anyways, people in their homes are all scared and shit, but they start to represent, and they all start pouring out. And I think even like Glenn is trying to get back, and Maggie is in peril or something. Maybe this is a different moment. But yeah, oh yeah, Glenn almost dies, like in a very cool moment. He's getting like rushed down by a bunch of the horde. Yeah, I think this is all the same time, but it all is a little bit of convoluted timeline. Not the show's fault, it's just me remembering. But he gets pounced upon by some zombies, and that's when Abraham and Sasha and Daryl show up with like a bunch of M16s and just start mowing zombies down. Another sweet moment, really brief one, but it's fucking sweet. Like Glenn almost straight up almost eats it, just trying to save Maggie. But yeah, ultimately in this wave of epicness, what happens is like the entire community steps up, comes out of their house, they all just get blunt weapons, and a really cool filmed montage occurs where they just start fucking up zombies left and right. Like it's not even a thing anymore. Like these people are just gonna straight up eradicate the zombie element from inside the gates. Very cool, very cool. And after that is a nice little scene with Rick talking to Carl. Carl's in post-op, not sure if he's gonna live or die or what, but Rick's just like, you know, I want to show you the future. Like when we were out there, I didn't know if these people could do it, but we can do it, you know. He's like, I got a whole new world I want to show you. And he's like just crying and shit. Really good performance by Andrew Lincoln. He is good, man. He is a good actor, I think. I fucking know it. Like he's great with Rick, man. He is Rick. So nice, like just wall-to-wall epicness. I don't know which season that is. I think that's 5. I think that's season 5, and it's just, I think it's fucking good. So it ends on that nice, huge, high note. That might actually be the mid-season finale for 6 or something. I don't know, because I think the Saviors are coming up very quickly after this. Yep. But anyways, I'm gonna pause it there. Oh shit! I don't know what this fucking Olive Garden is. All right. So that is Alexandria in a nutshell, at least the first arcs of Alexandria. And so, you know, like I just demonstrated, a lot of epic moments, I think, at least. A lot of crazy shit goes on when they first discover it, and it's all just a lead up to eventually slowly unraveling, appearing the Saviors. So amidst all this, some of the more badass characters, Daryl, Abraham, they are kind of out and about in the world, kind of scavenging. They're kind of stranded. They find like a bazooka and all this crazy shit, and they come across the first pack of the Saviors, and Daryl just bazookas the shit out of them. But anyways, what I'm ultimately just trying to say here is like the lead up from Alexandria and the Saviors ultimately culminates in Negan, who's a very, very interesting, compelling, fascinating villain. Maybe one of the most fascinating, compelling comic book villains of all time. You know, like fucking props to Kirkman for that, because he's charismatic, he's funny, he's evil, he's got cool fashion sense, you know. He's got that leather jacket going on, and all of that is translated and represented very well on the show within Jeffrey Dean Morgan, the actor who conveys Negan fantastically, following suit with all the other actors on this show pretty much. They make the character their own. They make the character even more compelling than it already was in the comics. Jeffrey Dean Morgan completely follows suit with that. His depiction of Negan is fantastic. It's a comic book accurate, but it's also like kind of its own thing when it needs to be, if it needs to be. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. And so the group are fairly comfortable now in Alexandria. They killed the pack, the huge pack. They had to kill some of their own. Some of their own died, sad, whatever, but they're getting over it, and they're stronger than ever because Rick has seen that this new group can handle themselves, and they're coming together as a community. So everything's primed to be great. And in fact, one of the big episodes leading into, just one of the first episodes after the herd gets taken out and everything, is pretty much Rick and Daryl just straight up kind of kicking ass. Like, they're not really worrying about a whole lot. They got their routine down, all of that. But then some complications start to arise, and I don't remember exactly how the Saviors really pop up. Daryl, Sasha, and Abraham definitely bazooka a small group of Saviors, but after that, they're not really mentioned for a minute. I think what happens is, Alexandria eventually meets up with the Hilltop. Jesus, that's right, Jesus shows up. That is in that episode when Daryl and Rick are just kind of kicking some ass. Jesus is the rogue factor who shows up, and at first he's kind of just a sketchy guy. They're not sure if they should trust him, blah blah blah. But eventually Jesus takes them to the Hilltop, and this is when the show starts getting that broader world feeling, a bigger world, just the general narrative feel of the story at this point is what it turns into at that moment. And the Hilltop is interesting itself because it's led by a guy named Gregory, who's an asshole. He's a total asshole, but you know what? I find the guy very entertaining. The actor who plays him is really good. He's a total sniveling dick, but he does it very well. He's one of those characters you love to hate, and Gregory personifies it very well. So we start to get more interaction between our Alexandria group and the Hilltop, and that's ultimately, they have a doctor. That's what's up too. They have a doctor who specializes in pregnancies and whatnot. So Maggie and Glenn are very excited about that, obviously. So that is kind of the impetus that leads from Alexandria's safe zone to the Saviors, because eventually, the Saviors do deals with the Hilltop, and Rick and them are trying to do deals with the Hilltop too, but the Hilltop doesn't have enough resources. But they're like, if you can take out the Saviors, maybe we could talk. Rick's groupers is like, all right, we can do that. We can handle shit. You guys have no idea how much shit we can handle. And they do. At first, they totally represent. And this is where the show does really well too, is like, it's a really good slow burn of Rick and their group slowly being like dominant and kicking ass until they just slowly realize that they are just fucked, and the Saviors have the numbers, they have the guns, the weapons, the means, all this shit. Ultimately, a big thing that happens is that Maggie, she starts to feel her pregnancy. She's pregnant at some point in all this, but her pregnancy starts to feel complicated, and she starts to feel very bad, and they have to take her to the Hilltop to get some medical attention, which leads to a couple very intense episodes. Very, very intense. Like, since the herd took over Alexandria, there wasn't anything as intense as these next couple episodes coming up. So basically, they take the RV and they take like the A-team to get Maggie, to get her some help. And through various different routes they take, they progressively encounter more and more Saviors. And for, the first while, they're like confident. They're like, whatever, we'll just go around, we'll find a better way. But eventually, they just really see how fucked they are. And you can even see it in Rick's acting. Andrew Lincoln still killing it here. He's just starting to get really worried. And eventually Eugene comes up with a pretty smart plan. He's a smart guy. They're only looking for the RV, so why don't we just get out, I'll drive the RV, they'll come after the RV, and you guys try to just get to the Hilltop on foot. Not the best plan, but it's all they can really do. It's just try to get out there and get on foot. That's how desperate they are. And they do it. They go out and they get on foot with Maggie on a stretcher. They're running through the fucking forest. Very intense, very cool, situation they got themselves stuck in there. Narrative-wise, it's just very interesting. But almost immediately they start hearing whistling out in the forest, and it turns out to be the Saviors. The Saviors are indeed surrounding them, and whoo boy, and they got them surrounded, and that's when they get him on their knees, the group gets on their knees. Maggie's really fucked up. And this is the only part too where like Glenn finally sees Maggie again after a minute, because they got separated and shit, I think, for a minute. And Daryl as well. And they all come out and they're like, this shit's going down. And this is when we meet Negan. This is when Jeffrey Dean Morgan saunters out into the world of The Walking Dead, completely signifying like, you thought you knew what was happening, you thought you knew what's up. Everything's about to change, man. And all it's gonna take is a freaking baseball bat with barbed wire wrapped around it. That's gonna change the whole game. I love what Kirkman did here, man. He literally took just like a barbed wire baseball bat, like, to the narrative of The Walking Dead. All right, a dude on a motorcycle in a Mr. Pumpkins fucking tuxedo just whizzed by me on his motorcycle. That is pretty cool. That's pretty great, man. So anyways, Negan, he's here. And it's something special, man. It's some special cinematography, special celluloid, whatever TV show moment about to happen here. So in the comics, Negan was introduced around the 100th issue of the comics. So the 100th issue was like this big deal, and everyone was speculating like someone big's gonna die, and even some fans even called it. And ultimately in the comics it was Glenn who was on the receiving end of Negan's barbed wire baseball bat named Lucille, a vampire bat. Great joke, great joke, Negan. Great joke, Kirkman. I love it. So Glenn is the reciprocant of the beating in the comics. So on the show, they end this particular season with the beating. Like, Negan comes out, he gives his big speech, y'all in Pee Pants City, everyone's about to piss their pants right here, right quick, you know, stuff like that. Very menacing, but also just like inappropriately like funny too. Like, God, you asshole, like, you got us in the hardest situation here and you're still cracking fucking jokes, you motherfucker. Like, that is Negan though for you. That is Negan. And so that season, that episode, the entire season ends with one of the characters getting it, just like in the comics. But unlike in the comic, and they do this very well here too, it's filmed from the perspective of the person getting beaten. And you really cannot tell who it was who got it. And they do not tell you at all in the episode. They don't give you like any hints or anything. So for like 6 months as a Walking Dead fan of the show, everyone was just sit there, myself included, sitting there like wondering, wow, who got it, man? I remember this, like, even on YouTube, there was people doing like theory videos about based on where the camera was positioned and what trees were in the background and how all the group was lined up, and this certain character was 5 seats away from this other character, so maybe they got it, you know, like. And then the show itself did a lot of throwing off of the trail by, like, I guess filming every character getting hit in the head. Because actually when they finally do reveal it on the episode, they kind of do show every character getting it. Like, Rick is thinking about it. He's like contemplating who else could get killed. And we see like Aaron get hit in the head, Michonne get hit in the head. So they had to make like all these prosthetic heads of all the actors to get smashed in. So no one knew online who eventually got it. It was a big fucking deal. Oh man, especially if you even if you've read the comics, but especially if you've read the comics, because the show is known for swapping out deaths. And like I was talking about Bob earlier, he's a really cool character. Like in the comics, Dale was a very cool character, and this is when I was kind of almost done with the show. Is the way they killed off Dale on the show was so fucking anticlimactic and shitty. That was season 2 though, which was pretty much the worst season of the entire show. So the way they killed him off on the show is just like a walker got him and just like ripped his stomach open, and that was it, and he was suffering, and Daryl shot him in the head. But in the comics, it's great. It's during the cannibal arc, and he does get bitten, and the cannibals abduct him and start eating him, like cut off his leg and start eating him. And in the comics, that happens to Dale, and he has the great line. He says, "Tainted meat, y'all eating tainted meat," and he starts laughing his ass off, and all the fucking cannibals start puking and shit. On the show, that happens to Bob. So there you go, little bait and switch there for in terms of shocking deaths from the comics. They switch it up on the show. And on the show, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, on the show, it was kind of even better too. Like, I kind of really cared about that character, Bob, at that point. He was a really cool, like, just chill guy, but also a very strong voice of reason when he needed to be, when he wanted to be. And he had a cute relationship with Sasha, and they did this little game where, like, they would say something and he would pick out the silver lining, essentially, to any situation. And he's very cute, very adorable little moment. So yeah, they switch out deaths, so no one knew what to expect. Another one they did was Abraham in the comics dies very unceremoniously. He gets shot in the back of the head with an arrow. Very sad. I mean, it's a cool death, but it's very sad, very shocking. They give that to Denise, who I mentioned a little bit earlier, the cool doctor lady. She gets the arrow in the back of the head in the show. And again, maybe I just love TV or something, but like, it's done really well on the show. Like, she even gets, like, she mutters a couple words after she, like, and she's having a really cool moment with, like, Daryl and Rosita, like, a very cool, like, kind of family moment. Like, they all feel like brothers and sisters at this moment, and she just straight up gets killed by this guy named Dwight, this character Dwight, who's a big deal in season 7. But anyways, we're still talking about Negan and him and Lucille eventually delivering one of the most righteous blows in all of comics or fiction, maybe. Like, God, in terms of deaths, I think of, like, Negan, baseball bat, Lucille, and, like, the Red Wedding. Like, those are the two big fucking, like, fictional, like, holy shit deaths in, like, stories that I know, you know. And besides, like, I don't know, fucking Romeo and Juliet or some shit. Like, yeah, so it's a big deal. Like, who's gonna get it on the show in The Walking Dead? And the show does it fucking spectacularly, man. Like, so season 7 comes back. Season 7, episode 1, we get to see who finally gets it. And the way they film it, again, it's kind of like that, the start of the deflecting the herd situation in Alexandria. They show moments from right now, and they show flashbacks to when it happened. And we're kept guessing who gets it for like maybe a third of the episode. And yeah, man, oh, it's just so intense. I'm trying to get in my headspace on how to even describe it. So Negan's got them all on their knees. There's nothing the group can do, really. Maggie is, like, on the edge of losing her baby and all this stuff, so they just really can't risk, like, trying to, like, fight to the death or something like that, because they're certainly gonna die. So Negan decides to just do the ultimate douchey thing to kill one of them. He decides to do a, what is it even called? Catch a tiger by the toe. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe, catch a tiger by the toe. That's what he does. That's what he does to decide who's gonna die. And it's so fucked up. So fucked up. But at this point, this is when the man who defied death on the show compared to his comic book life, Mr. Abraham himself, fucking pretty much takes one for the group. At this point, Negan's doing the eeny, miny, moe, and Abraham just kind of sits up, like, basically saying, dude, just give it to me, man. Just get it over with. I'm ready. Let's do this. It's fucking fantastic. And someone pointed out, too, I didn't notice this initially, but he does this little peace sign to Sasha, and that was like kind of their little call sign to each other. And I mean, I saw him do it the first time, but I didn't pick up on the significance. That's like their little thing to each other. And you can see it in Sasha's face, too. She, like, starts crying. It's very, very emotional. And sure enough, like, you know, Negan's like, all right, then, you want to volunteer? You're going to get it. Blam! And Abraham gets whacked. And at first, he's still standing, too. He even tells Negan to suck his nuts. But then, blam! He gets it again, and again, and again. And everyone's crying and sad, and Abraham, rest in peace. You magnificent ginger bastard mother dick. Rest in peace, you magnificent man. Oh man, what an epic moment. But we're not even done yet, because oh my god, the show. It just does so many good things. So after this, everyone's crying and pissed off, and Negan's like twirling his bat everywhere, getting blood on people, getting Abraham's blood on people. Daryl can't take it. He gets up, he punches Negan in the face. And Negan already said he would shut that shit down if anyone did anything like that. He's got to set a fucking example. He's got to prove that he is the man, and he will do what he wants to do to get you in line. So Daryl makes the mistake of punching him, and Negan has to further his lessons to the group. So that's when he decides to keep it going, and in the background is Glenn, and he brings the hammer down on Glenn's head, just like in the comics. So like at this point, if you're a comic reader and you saw Abraham get it, you're like, okay, I get it, man, because Abraham died in the comics already, and someone's got to get it, so I guess it's Abraham. Wow, okay, there you go, show watchers. You got to see your Lucille, and it was Abraham. Not so bad if you're a comic fan, because we're used to this already. We were expecting this Abraham to die at some point, so we're sitting a little pretty at this moment. But then here goes round two, and there goes Glenn, and simultaneously everyone's hearts break. Like, from people watching at home to the comics readers who are waiting for this, it's all the shit has just hit the fan, man. Like, oh my god. And it's just like the comics too. And the comics is very graphic. Like, after he gets hit, like, Negan gives him a second. He's like, hey buddy, are you alright? You still there? And Glenn's like eyes popping out, and he's trying to talk to Maggie. He's trying to say some things, his last words to Maggie. Oh god, it's just gut-wrenching. And just really good TV. Really good, entertaining TV. And you know what? That's, okay, that's kind of the pinnacle at this moment. A lot of stuff happens in Season 7. That's the start of Season 7. And Season 7, I'd still say, is quite good. Like, they take Daryl, and there's a lot of other stuff that goes down. But ultimately, I was just trying to talk about why The Walking Dead is very entertaining to me. And I think, up till that point, those are all the pinnacles for me. So, yeah. I'm going to watch the new Season 8 tonight. Maybe I'll do my thoughts or something about more of the episodes as they go. And I also maybe talk about Game of Thrones at some point, Season 7, because that was an interesting bag as well. Mixed bag, for sure. So yeah, that's it for this Coastalvania podcast, number 2, I guess. Shit, talking about The Walking Dead. Yep, see you next time.
I'm a wildcat, I run with wild ones. From a savage land, I have strange fun. You wanna play dead? Then giddy up, I feed off that bad love. I live off that young stuff, middle finger in the air. Fuck it, I don't really care. Me, I don't give a fuck. Up, yo, suck the blood, cause I'm neo-gothic. Ain't fucking with no garlic. My blood is toxic, filled up with toxins. Talk slick, gang sick, cosmic. Nothing microscopic. Magic trick on a chicken chick, she get the ice pick. Don't provoke, bitch, I'm broke. All my money up in smoke. I'm a dick, plus I'm nuts, and I'm coke. Neuroscope, punchline, hang 'em high. Quiet storm, good choice, poor form. My wrong, right away, every day. Shakedown, you can find me downtown. Cameras in the light post, still can't catch a green ghost, no. I'm a vampire. Yeah, I'm a vampire. I'm a vampire. I'm a Dad's from Detroit, my mom's from Bethlehem. Me, I'm on murder dice. I'm from Washington, I donate plasma to the blood bank. They swap my blood for oil to fill your gas tank. Twisted sideways, black hearse burning down the highway. Bird of prey, praying for the birds like some field day. Suicide squeeze, getting tan from the gamma rays. Mouth spit, sharp teeth, taste like an ashtray. Yeah, I'm on that foul play, disobey the cliche. He say, she say, going off the ante. Nowadays insanity, everything instantly. Where there is risk, I see only opportunity. That's me on the marquee, drunkest at the party. Creepy, sexy fuck, but oh so smarmy. Bitch, you look fancy. Chick tried to gas me. Little did she know about my motherfucking vamp steez. Little did she know that I'm a vampire. That's such a sin. That's right, that's right. I'm a vampire, I wanna suck your blood. I've had enough, I'm done. Silver bullets in your gun. I'm a vampire, I wanna suck your blood. I've had enough, I'm done. Silver bullets in your gun. I'm a vampire, I wanna suck your blood. I've had enough, I'm done. Silver bullets in your gun. I'm a vampire, I wanna suck your blood. I've had enough, I'm done. Silver bullets in your gun. I'm a vampire.